Please bow your heads with me. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we're so very thankful today for your grace, your mercy, for the many blessings that you've granted us. We're so very thankful for the great nation that you have granted us. We pray, Lord God, that you would tonight give us harmony, that you would give us singleness of mind and spirit, so that we might carry out your will on this earth as it is in heaven. And it's in Jesus' name we pray this. Amen.
Amen. If you would stand with me, Mr. Allman's going to lead us in the pledge. Yes, sir.
I promise you this never gets old. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We're going to begin with roll call. Please note that when we're doing roll call, we're calling active members. At the end, I will ask if there are any inactive members that were missed, or if you were new and have filled out an application. If you filled out the application tonight, just make sure you give that application to me, and we will vote in new members shortly. All right. Roger Adams.
Here.
Marcella Adams. Here. The Ed Alvarez.
Here.
Renee Almond.
Here.
Tim Almond.
Here.
Susan Anderson.
Here.
Rick Bellinger.
Proxy, Robert Scott.
Carlton Billingsley. Colson Billingsley. Kim Bourgeois.
Here.
Mark Bourgeois.
Here.
Bob Bowman. Liz Bray.
Here.
Terry Bray.
Here.
George Brooks. Sue Brooks. Dee Brown. Matt Brumley.
Here.
Tracy Bullock. Beth Bunton.
Oh, sorry. Proxy, Renee Rogers. Tracy, that was Tracy Bullock.
Tracy
Proxy,
Bullock.
yeah.
Beth Bunton. Jennifer Carter. Saw Jennifer somewhere. Ann Clemmer.
Proxy, Doyle Webb.
Jamie Clemmer.
Proxy, Doyle Webb.
Alania Coleman. Ken Covington.
That proxy Dan Smiley for Lonnie Coleman.
Ken Covington.
Here.
Rhonda Covington. Candy Cox.
Here.
Chris Cox.
Proxy, Candy Cox.
Terry Daly.
Here.
Cindy Davis. Larry Davis. Andrew Decker.
Here.
Brad Dow.
Here.
Lydia Dow.
Here.
Mike Duke. Stephanie Duke.
Proxy, John Newcomb.
CJ Engel.
Here.
Brian English.
Here.
Stephen Fay. Kelly Ferguson.
Here.
Dana Fiddler. Greg Frank.
Here.
Tony Furman. Liz Garcia. Ann Garner.
Here.
Jane Gurn.
Here.
David Gibson Jr.
Here.
I'm here, David Senior. Bill Godbold. Allison Gray.
Here.
Scott Gray.
Here.
Dallas Green.
Proxy, Carol Tessier.
Kim Hammer.
Proxy, Steve Lux.
Tom Harper.
Present.
Francis Harper.
Here.
Terry Hawkins.
Here.
Caleb Head.
Here.
Alice Hogsett Carter.
Here.
Barbara Howe.
Proxy, Jim Wilson.
David Huey.
Proxy, Luann Huey.
And Luann Huey.
Here.
Cindy Irwin.
Here.
Rob Irwin.
Here.
Rusty Jackson.
Here.
Savannah Jackson.
Here.
Jenna James.
Oh, here.
Eugene Jameson.
Here.
Jana Jennings.
Here. Also, I'm the proxy for Dana Fiedler, and when you said her name, I forgot to say it.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get that. Stephanie Johnson.
Here.
Amber Johnson. Matthew Ty Johnson. Joe Johnston.
Here.
Robert Johnston.
Here.
Jody Jordan.
Here.
Keith Keck.
Proxy, Steve Lux.
Keith Kellum.
Here.
Terry Kellum.
Proxy, Keith Kellum.
Monica Kendrick.
Proxy, Roger Adams.
Shane Knight. Jim Coleman.
Proxy, Tom Harper.
Reagan Kaiser. Clint Lancaster.
I am still here.
Jennifer Lancaster,
Here.
Mary Lancaster,
Proxy Jennifer Lancaster.
Grace Lee,
Here.
Mary Lewis,
Here.
Mari Long,
Proxy Renee Rogers.
Sonia Lucas Meyer,
Proxy Janie Daring.
Sherry Lux, Steve Lux,
Here.
Drew Martin, Andy Mayberry, Julie Mayberry, Mike McLean, Dave McCollum,
Here.
Sean McDonald,
Here.
Kelly McElhaney,
Here.
Gabrielle Mills,
Here.
Richard Mills,
Here.
Jan Morris,
Here.
Jeff Morris,
Here.
Elaine Murray,
Here.
Julia Norris,
Here.
Lana Prosen,
Here.
Bob Ramsey, Pat Roberts, Ken Robinson,
Proxy, Pat Roberts, Angela Ross. Proxy, Pat Roberts. I don't know which thing I'm supposed to say.
you covered it all.
I'm Angela, I'm Proxy, Pat, okay.
Ken Robinson, Renee Rogers,
Here.
Gwen Rogers,
Here.
Andrew Rogers,
Here.
Angela Ross,
Here.
Justin Rue, Billy Sample, Micah Sample,
Proxy Mary Lewis.
Marla Sams,
Here.
Randy Sams,
Proxy, Angela Sands.
Pat Sanders,
Proxy Angela Gray.
Tammy Smith,
Proxy Matt Brown.
Billy Scott, Robert Scott,
Here.
Kathleen Scott,
Proxy Robert Scott.
Abby Sims,
Here.
Christy Sims, Timothy Sopel,
Here.
Charlotte Tennant,
Here.
Dwayne Tennant,
Here.
Carol Tessier,
Here.
John Thurston, Trevor Belyans,
Here.
Doyle Webb,
Here.
Bill Whipple, Jim Whitley,
Here.
Scott Wise,
Here.
Rodney Wright,
Proxy Matt Brown.
Ken Yang, Claudette Zuber,
Here.
John Zilma. Have I missed anyone that is here that is not applied for membership? J.R. Walters, Clint Chisholm. Anyone else?
I haven't applied.
Yes, ma'am, and we'll get you on the back end.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any new members to vote in? We do have four.
Here.
Gary Don Beck. Here? Here. Okay, you're good. Regina Beck,
Here.
Jeffrey Bunton, Shannon Everett,
Here.
Damon Helton, John Lindsay, Ronald Lindsay. So we have three new members to vote in tonight. Is there a motion to vote in these three new members?
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Scott, Julia? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome.
I have a question. What if you haven't applied and you want to apply?
Get us after the meeting and we will get you an application. And then, once you turn it in and you pay your dues on the second meeting, then you will be voted in. All right. So, old business, I did send out the meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve the previous minutes.
Motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Tom, would you come give us a treasurer's report?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'll print off more. If you didn't get one, they're on the table there. It's basically March printout. Does anybody have any questions? Let's looked over it. March was pretty easy. Good thing is we came out ahead for our operating. Political stayed the same, and the TAR, there's no changes. Any questions for me? Apparently my report's not detailed enough, so let me know what I can do better and I'll be happy to do that. All right, thank you all.
Very grateful for the details.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Scott Wise, you got a buildings report?
No, just turned on the air, so hopefully it starts cooling down in here.
Amen. All right. Events report, Julia Norris.
So I went to the Vietnam Veterans event that, I went to the Vietnam Veterans event that happened over the courthouse and just kind of represented us as I went around and visited with people. I attended the legislative breakfast on behalf of the committee as well, and we'll be attending the next one that we're having, that they're gonna be having in a week or so. I've got it on my calendar. We've got business cards now that it's gonna help facilitate the handing them out and inviting people on a one-to-one basis and at events where we can make the information available. I think there was one left on your seat, so that it's got the meeting time and all the information, so it'll make it easier to get people in. And in connecting with the Benton and Bryant Chambers of Commerce, there's nothing really going on until spring or summer, so once those events are announced, then I can start making plans with that. That's it.
All right, thank you. And as always, if you hear of something you think we would want to be involved in, let us know. I think the more involvement we have, the better we are, and the better we can reach out into the public.
Hey, David.
Uh-huh.
Third Thursday does start this month.
Third Thursday starts this month. Thank you.
It's the 20th, April 20th.
Hey, how many of y'all have been to Third Thursday before? If you have, raise your hand. So the more into the summer it goes, the hotter it gets, right? And so I do. It's always a great. Huh?
The first one's always horrible.
Yeah.
It's always cold and it'd be
Yeah. But we will get hot, right? It will be. Yeah. All right. So tonight we have two speakers. Appreciate them both coming out tonight. Clint Lancaster and Conrad Reynolds. Clint is going to be our first speaker, but I do want to brag on Clint. He is always willing to give us direction. He served as election commissioner. I think he served on President Donald Trump's legal team in 2020 in Wisconsin. Has been a practicing attorney for several years, and if you know him, you know he has great integrity. And so we've asked him and Conrad to come here tonight and talk to us about the electronic voting as well as paper ballots. So if y'all would, help me welcome Mr. Clint Lancaster.
All right, thank you, David, for that wonderful introduction. So I've got a lot to talk about, and they gave me 10 minutes to cover it. So kind of what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about what our efforts have done up at the Capitol. And I wish that I had better news to report. So my wife, Jennifer, and I registered as lobbyists so that we could specifically ask legislators to run bills and vote on bills. Initially we started out with 14 bills. All right, some of them were a little more on what I would call the ultra-conservative side, or as Max Brantley says, the Clint Lancaster side. If you don't know Max Brantley, he is a he's now retired. He used to write for what I call the comic section of the Arkansas newspapers, the Arkansas Times. So he is not a fan of mine, though he did offer to buy me lunch, but I was afraid it would be poisoned. So we had 14 bills, and when we could not get those down, couldn't get those run, we initially sat down with Senator Hammer and talked to him about running our bills. We came to him with 6 bills, and he expressed a willingness to run all 6. He was our first one to get him over to Bureau of Legislative Research. If you're not familiar with how this process works, okay, someone like me or someone like you would approach a senator or rep and say, I would like for you to run this bill. They're going to tell you to go find someone on the other side, whether it's the House or the Senate, that'll sponsor it there. Once you have that and they're okay with it, they send it to this magical place. It's called BLR. Apparently, nobody else in the state of Arkansas can write a bill that you can file other than BLR, Bureau of Legislative Research. So Senator Hammer initially sent all 6 of our bills, we called them the Big 6, over to BLR. Politics is always a treacherous playground. And so as things had progressed throughout the session, we did not get enough response from Senator Hammer to give us enough comfort to know he was actually going to run them. And so I turned to a friend of mine who I had the pleasure of representing. Apparently, I didn't know this was a big deal when I did it. But last summer, Senator Alan Clark had to face down the Senate Ethics Commission. And I had the pleasure of representing Senator Clark on the Senate floor. And I just thought being a lawyer was elitist, but apparently being a senator is even more elitist, because you can't be down there on the floor unless you're a senator or a member of the staff. And so for me to be on the Senate floor was a real honor to be able to represent Senator Clark. And it turns out they made this rule that says I can't talk. So I don't really know. I was there, but so I turned to Senator Clark and I asked Senator Clark if he would sponsor these bills. And Senator Clark, Jennifer, my wife, was there. He said, if you don't know me, I'm like a real to the point person. So the conversation went like this: Senator Clark, I'd like for you to run these 6 bills. He goes, well, I'll run one of them. Which one do you run? Well, I like this recount bill, but if you run this recount bill, you have to run the election contest bill, because they're so tied together. He goes, okay, I'll run those 2 bills. And then Jennifer started talking to him for about 30 or 45 minutes, and when she was done, she asked him if he would run all 6 bills, and he said yes. So that is an absolutely true story. And so Senator Clark ran all 6 of the bills, and I came in here and I saw, names and how people voted up on this screen. And, I said to Dave Ellswick and I said to Brandon House, who is the host of Lindell TV, I don't always like what all my elected officials do. I compared Mary Bentley to Reba McEntire, and I compared Kim Hammer to George Strait, okay? I like a lot of George Strait songs. I like a lot of Reba McEntire songs, but I don't like all of them, and I won't listen to all of them. The same thing is true for these elected officials. So I saw where, perhaps Senator or Representative Furman, I think, maybe voted against the ending affirmative action bill. Regardless of what you think of how they voted on certain issues, I will tell you that Senator Clark sponsored these bills for Jennifer and I, and for Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. Tony Furman was a sponsor on the House side. Mary Bentley was a sponsor on the House side. R.J. Hawk was a sponsor on the House side. Keith Brooks was willing to be a sponsor. I just ran out of bills. Okay, so while Mary Bentley might have ran the modification of the FOIA, the bill that would make it to where you didn't have to call a meeting for some certain number of people to have a meeting, and I know that was bitter water to a lot of people, especially on the conservative side of things. She did sponsor my bill, and I'm going to tell you, Senator Stubblefield, who's from over in West Arkansas, I believe, when I asked him if he would vote for this bill for me, he asked me who the House sponsor was, and I said Mary Bentley. He said, that's all I need to know. Mary Bentley's on the bill, so you have my vote. And not only did he vote for my bill, but as our bills started going through committee, right, they started getting killed. And I was like, ouch, this was not supposed to be this hard. So the first one that got killed, I believe, was the protection of election voting data. It died in committee. The next one that died was the recount bill and the election contest bill. And they slowly started dying off. But when it came to the one that Mary Bentley had sponsored, not only did Senator Stubblefield, who was the chair of the Judiciary Committee, not only did he vote for it, but he encouraged the other members of the committee to vote for it. Okay, so that should tell you how highly thought of Mary Bentley is. And I would say the same thing for Senator Hammer, because even though he spoke against the bill so the only bill that we got that survived was SB 435, the right to vote on a paper ballot. Okay, and I thought, okay, well, won, and then we had some serious opposition from the Arkansas Association of Counties. I did hit up Josh Curtis because he's a lobbyist there. I don't think Josh is here tonight, and he told me he was not the person over that. and told me who was, and I went and talked to that person. We tried to make a concession for what they would want, and in fact, we made one anyways, even though they wouldn't get their support. And I really thought that SB 435 had a good shot, because I had talked to a good number of senators who had told me they would have their vote. I had a hard time with Senator Matt McKee at first. He at first wasn't going to vote for it, and if you were watching this video, you can see as SB 435 was running through the Judiciary Committee, I'm texting someone. That somebody was Matt McKee, and I said, "Are you going to vote for any of my bills?" And he voted for that one, and it made it out of committee. However, Senator Hammer spoke against it on the Senate floor, and it failed to get the votes it needed to carry it off the floor. I had talked to a senator the night before who told me that they intended to kill the bill, and she went into reasons why, but those aren't important. And then I also had the opportunity to work with a Democrat. Now I know, don't throw anything just yet, okay? So Senator Clark Tucker, I approached him because Senator Clark told me, Alan Clark said it would be really good if you could get Senator Clark Tucker's support. I said, well, he doesn't yell at everybody like Senator Flowers, so I'll go give him a shot. And so I went up to Clark Tucker, and I introduced myself. He said, I know who you are, and he said, hey, look, I want to talk to you about some bills that I'm running, and I'd like to get your thoughts on them. So I went home that night, pulled up his bills, and gave him my thoughts, and he called me the next day and said, would you come meet me in my office? I'd like to hear how I can write these bills by working with you. I was like, okay, so I'm going to show up, and I'm going to tell Senator Tucker, this is bad. We need to have this. And he's going to be like, well, I'm not going to do. He started adding in every single thing that I asked him to add in. I mean, every single thing. And when we went through the bill piece by piece, it was an overhaul of the absentee voting, and it looked really worse than it was. There was a lot of moving things around to put them where they fit together, and very few new language. So one of the things I really liked about that bill was if you have a problem with your absentee ballot, there's some opportunities to cure that. And we have an amendment, Amendment 51, that says how you do that for certain defects. But instead, we made all defects have that same provision. So if you had a problem, let's say the addresses didn't match on your voter statement and your application, okay, that's something that you could cure. But my goal has always been to get people out of their homes and to the clerk's office. Okay, get them in person. So if there was a defect, they would be notified. They would have to show up in person and not only verify that, but look at their ballot and make sure that was the ballot they submitted. Okay? Because why? Okay, number one, if they don't show up, I don't feel bad about not counting it. Okay? Number two, I don't have to do like they did in Wisconsin and Google them and fill in the information myself. Okay? Third, if there is fraud, if we had called these people and they said, well, I hadn't voted yet. Well, now we have a solid piece of evidence that hopefully has some fingerprints on it. If that ballot wasn't the same, we would know that too. So I wrote a statement for Senator Clark Tucker for his bill, and it made it through the Senate committee. And then it came down to the House committee, and he and I stayed till about 8:45 p.m. when State Government Affairs Committee on the House side took it up, and it passed. It got out of the committee. A Republican election commissioner out of Pulaski County contacted Senator Tucker and said, I would like for you to make a few changes. It got re-referred at Senator Clark Tucker's request back to the House committee. And between then, and then it was like the next day, when the vote came up, they voted it down in committee. Now, what I'll tell you is that politics is a treacherous playground. Okay? I think that what had happened was people found out that I had worked with Senator Tucker. It was not an election integrity caucus bill, and all bills dealing with election integrity, you either have the blessing of the caucus or you die somewhere. And so it died. But there is some good news to report, right? The world's still spinning. So there was a Representative Wayne Long, what I call cannibalized part of one of our bills, the watermark bill. And he created a watermark bill, and then he also rolled back some of the SB 250 requirements, so that you wouldn't always have to use a tabulator. And so, so that bill, last time I checked on it, it was out of committee, out of the House and in Senate. And I don't know, it should have been taken up by Senate committee today. He's got till tomorrow to get it out because they are pretty intent on adjourning or wrapping up the work on it, but on Friday. So there's a lot about what's been going on up at the Capitol. It's been interesting. There have been a lot of long nights. A lot of people have worked very hard. It's been unique, and so with that, I'd be glad to take any questions that anybody has. If not, I will introduce the next speaker. Are you going to introduce the next speaker?
I actually need to make well, first of all, let's give Clint a round of applause. You're good.
Thank
You're
you.
good. Renee pointed out that we never made a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report? Motion, Tim? Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, all right. Well, number one, thank you, Clint, very much. I know there's a lot of work going, and many of you are involved, regardless of your opinions. It's what it takes for each of us to be involved. So I do want to introduce our next speaker. We're going to welcome Conrad Reynolds to our meeting. He served our nation as a military intelligence officer and combat veteran for over 29 years. He is retired from the U.S. Army and is a full colonel. He's a proud Christian and devoted husband and father, a former candidate for U.S. Congress, and is currently serving his state in a new capacity as president of the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. The initiative is a nonpartisan group of U.S. citizens, volunteers seeking to ensure the right to choose our representatives by fair and honest elections. So let's give a big Saline County welcome to Colonel Conrad.
Hello, everybody. Most everybody here knows who I am. How are y'all doing tonight? Great. Well, I know that you came here for a couple of reasons. Either you agree with me already, or you have doubts, or you want to try to shoot me down. I've had that everywhere I go. So that's okay. Let me say a couple things because I am for paper ballots. No question about it. I am against the machines that we currently use. I'm not against the people, which are county clerks, election commissioners, or any of our legislators or JPs. I'm not against any of them. They're all good people. Everybody wants to do the right thing. I want to make that clear because it's not us versus them. It's an educational process, and that's what I'm here to do, and that's what my organization is doing. We're a 501c4. We're here to educate and try to get people to understand why we cannot trust a machine that has no transparency. But I'm not the only one that thinks that way. I'm not the only one. There's a couple other people I want you to see, if you can see that. Y'all probably see President Trump right there at CPAC.
They secure our elections. All Republican governors should immediately go for paper ballots, one-day voting, and voter ID.
If you look at that video, can you see it? Play it again. Will?
Secure our
look
elections.
At the far right on the back. That's me.
Republican governors should immediately go for paper ballots, one-day voting, and voter ID.
Over there, all right. And the guy that I was looking at, we were doing it was Mike Lindell. He was on the other side, Mr. Pillowman. He was on the other side. So, but there's another person. What's the other one? Please show the other one.
Hey there, Arkansas. I'm Carrie Lake from Arizona, and I'm joining your mission to take back America county by county to restore faith in our election process. Arkansas plays a vital role in this mission led by Colonel Conrad Reynolds and the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. By demanding hand-marked paper ballots, we will ensure the integrity of our elections and rid ourselves of non-transparent voting computers. Call your Justice of the Peace and insist on hand-marked paper ballots for your county. To become part of the movement and learn more, go to avii.org. Together, we will take back America county by county.
Lake is a great lady, and she is absolutely behind us in this. Okay, she ought to be somebody that knows. Absolutely. So let me ask you a real quick question. I start off usually with this. Can anybody tell me who this is, what person this represents? Anybody?
It's like a stick family portrait.
That's it. Anybody?
I don't have the database.
The devil.
You don't know. We don't know. But that's what is being counted by the machines, and people who support machines tell us that we have to accept this. This is what you have to verify. You don't know for sure the name on that ballot, in fact, is being counted because that machine doesn't read names, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It only reads barcode. And none of us, no one in this room knows what that means or can interpret that. But that's what we have to accept, because everybody in leadership positions says you have to accept this. I'm not going to accept it. And I'm going to, no way. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And it's nothing against those people. Okay? They just think they know something that they don't. And so I want to talk real quickly because I don't have a lot of time. But I know there was a handout. Everybody got that handout? Yes. That was given to you. There's a QR code on there. Everything that I'm going to say on that tonight is backed up by resource documents, all these links. That's what that QR code will take you to, our website. And it gives you all these links to all the articles that support everything that I'm saying. I like this one here. It says, who is this, Elizabeth Warren or Donald Trump? Again, we don't know. You don't know. Okay? And so that's why we have to get rid of machines. We don't have to prove that they cheated because guess what? We're not allowed to see the source code. So on one hand, they tie our hands behind our back and say, okay, you can't see the source code because it's proprietary. But show us the evidence. Well, the evidence is in the source code, folks. And we can't see it because they won't allow us. So on one hand, they're saying we're going to handcuff you. And on the other hand, they're going to say, well, you didn't show us any evidence. So therefore, we're going to keep machines. Doesn't work that way. This is our election. This is our country. This is our county. This is our state. And we have a right to have and demand elections that we all can have faith and trust in. We need transparency, accuracy, and accountability. Okay? Now, most of the county clerks that I've spoken with are great people. I'm telling you, most of them. I had one, she didn't like me too much. But most of them are really good people. But right now we have convenience. Period. It's convenience. We've traded convenience, okay, for security. That's what we've done. Because no one wants to count ballots. No one wants to do that. I've heard all the reasons over and over and over. It takes too long, it's too hard, too expensive. Problems. Problem. Well, let me talk a little bit about the voting process that we have here. Because it's important that we all understand the voting process and why we have to change it. So let's talk about that a second. Oh, by the way, nobody who wrote any of these bills called me. Nobody. Nobody even wanted to talk to me. Nobody said anything about me. I saw a couple of people who raised this book up and said about Marlon Hawkins. Y'all heard that? Okay? Did you ever ask those people if they ever read the book? There's nothing in here about stuffing ballots. Not one thing. But that's what they use to try to say, hey, because they know you're not going to read it. And so they say that to make you feel like you're the stupid one. And in fact, you're the one, you haven't read it. I'm telling you right now, there's nothing in here about paper ballots. And so, about stuffing paper ballots. But that's the scare tactic to get you to think about that. So let's go ahead and talk about how we vote and why we need to change our system that we currently have. Number one, when you go vote, the very first thing you do is you show your ID, correct? Yes. I'll be quick here because I don't have a lot of time. So you show your ID. We got an ID law here in the state of Arkansas. It's not nearly as strong as it should be. But it is an ID law. You have to show something. But pretty much everybody can vote at some point. But you show your ID, and then the next thing they do is they go behind and they look up your address, correct? Yep. They ask you, what's your name, what's your birthday? Excuse me, what else? Your address, right? So you give them your address, and then they look it up. What are they looking that up on? What is that? Anybody know?
It's a computer.
It's an e-poll book. It's called an e-poll book, right? Where does that information live? I asked the county clerk this. I said, where does that information come from? Where is it? It didn't come out of the air. Where is it located? What server? They don't know. Most of them don't know. Actually, it's ES&S that has it. The county clerks have real-time access to it. So does the Secretary of State. but they're the ones that compile all the data for Arkansas voters. That's where that information comes from. And that's important because guess what? That e-poll book, in order to work, in order to have voting centers, it has to be hooked up to the internet. That's correct. So you have to have an internet. Internet is co-located with where? All the machines. Same room, same location. So that's important, and I'll explain to you why. So in a little bit, I'll explain to you. So what happens is that they look it up, they look up your information, and they ask you, let's say primary, you want a Democrat or Republican ballot, right? Yeah. So you say Republican ballot, I hope so. I hope so. You say Republican ballot, it comes up, and what's on that piece of paper that just came out of that machine? That just was on the internet. What came out of that? A piece of paper, right? What's at the top of that piece of paper? Anybody know?
Barcode.
Yep, it's a barcode. You want to put that one up?
Not that one.
Okay. Anyway, there's a little barcode at the top. He'll get it up here. Okay, so the bottom line is at the very top of that, there's a barcode. I've asked county clerks, they say that just tells the computer the express vote at the very top, that one long one right there. It tells it which ballot style is yours based on your address. I said, that's great. What else does it tell it to do? Well, we don't know.
That's right.
We don't know. I said, why is that important? Because they can't tell you what else it tells you. It just came off the internet. It's already telling the computer something, okay, the express vote that you put it in. It tells it what ballot style you get. Why wouldn't it tell it something else? Is it? I just want to know. They do not know. That bothers me, right? Because I want transparency. That's the first part where there's no transparency. So now I don't know exactly what it's telling it, but why is that important? Because ES&S knows when I got the ballot, it knows how old I am. It knows if I'm male or female. It knows how my voting history's been. They have all that data. If I'm 80, it knows that I'm over 80 or over 90. I may not be able to be cognizant enough to catch a mistake on the next machine. That's a fact. Yeah. May not know it. So it could change it. Okay, we don't know. We have no way of knowing. Why should we allow that? That's number one. That's the first big vulnerability I see. The second vulnerability is when you go to the next machine, which is the express vote. The express vote is the computer that as they call it a machine, but it's actually a computer. And you go to it and you put that piece of paper in. And what happens? All of those different selections come out on the computer screen, correct? Yeah. Okay. So you can that is your ballot, folks. That is your ballot that's on the computer screen, not that piece of paper. That's called a ballot summary card. That's nothing more than a receipt. Why is that? And they even call it a ballot summary card in the ES&S manual. They don't call it a ballot. Okay, so they use a word salad. When everybody tells you, oh, you get a ballot. No, you don't. You get a receipt. If anybody has gone to a restaurant, a new restaurant, and you have the menu on one of those kiosks, and you push what you want, right? And it comes out on a piece of paper, that's your receipt. The menu's on that touch screen. And that's exactly what we have here. The menu, in this case the ballot, is on that computer screen. There's a study done at the University of Michigan. It was very simple. They did a mock election. They ran all these different people running through voting. And what they found was that 93% of the people, because they intentionally changed the votes on those machines, 93% of the people, guess what? Never saw a mistake, never caught any of the ones they changed. And some of them they changed 3, 4, 5. They didn't recognize it, didn't see it. Kind of like driving down the road and can't see a motorcycle. It's right in front of you. Your brain's not geared to that, you don't see it. Same phenomenon happens with these machines. It's not me. Again, I can prove it. You can go to my references, and it's right there. It's not me saying it. It's university professors who've done studies who will show you that the touchscreen does not capture voter intent like a piece of paper does. A piece of paper, a paper ballot, they found captures the intent. 98% of the people recognize if they made a mistake. 98% recognize, oh, I circled the wrong oval, made a mistake, excuse me, I need another ballot. What do you do when you have a mistake on the machine? Most people don't know, to be honest with you. They don't know what to do. Most of them feel embarrassed because guess what? You made the mistake. It's your mistake if the wrong one was touched, correct? How are you going to prove otherwise? You don't have a camera. You have no way to prove anything else other than you say, no, I know who I picked. When I went back and reviewed, it changed. We've got 100 affidavits, actually more than that, of people who said it changed right in front of them or when they went back and reviewed their ballot. went back and looked at the computer screen. It had changed on them. All of us were supposed to say, "Oh, it's their mistake. Their mistake, not ours. It's your mistake." When we know that paper ballots will not have that problem. So that's number one. Voter intent is very important. Okay, and after you get through and you get your ballot, you put your little piece of paper in there and you make your selections, and your ballot comes back out of the machine. You go back there. It comes back out of the machine. Look at that a second. If you look, they do tell you what. Check the names. County clerks are telling you. Check the name. Make sure the name is on there that you want. Y'all were told that, right? Okay, they're doing their job. They're doing exactly what they're told to do. Okay, and I commend every one of them for doing it. But what happens is that, yeah, you check it. In fact, actually only 4% actually check it. Did y'all know that? Most people look at it, and if they look at it at all, it's only for a second to look at maybe one race. Okay, it's good, and they go in and put it in the next machine. They get the little sticker. It says, "Thank you very much," and then they walk away. They voted, right? But what's important about this is that these names that are on this ballot mean nothing to that machine. You know why? It doesn't read it. The DS200 is incapable of reading text. It reads barcodes right there. So we have no idea whether that barcode that's up there matches and represents the name that's below it. In fact, I'm just saying it could. All those barcodes actually could be Democrat and Republican names, or vice versa. We have no way to know unless we see the source code. We see the source code, then we'd know. But guess what? Nobody in America has seen the source code except the company. And talking about the company, yeah, just a second. Because I want to ask you a question. Who knows who ES&S is? Anybody? ES&S runs our entire election, folks, from beginning to end. The Secretary of State's office has pretty much given it to a company, a for-profit company out of Nebraska. It's called ES&S, Election Systems and Software. They started in 1979 by a guy by the name of Bob Urosevich. Yes, he has Russian heritage. His brother Tom. They started in 1979. It was called AIS. Okay? AIS then it morphed into what we know now as ES&S. What's important about that is they have been caught many times doing things that are completely unsavory and wrong. They've sold machines saying that they were certified when they weren't. They said for 8 years they sold machines to customers that said, "Oh, guess what? They're not on the internet. There's no modem in them," but there were modems in them. There were modems in them. 8 years they did that. They were caught. "Oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean to do that." Right? They are a for-profit company. We got to know who that company is. We got to know who's behind the curtain that controls all of our elections. Not just our elections, folks. They control 50% of all votes in America on machines go through ES&S. 30% go through a company called Dominion. Y'all know about Dominion, right? 30% go through Dominion, and about 10% go through Hart Civic, and there's about 3 other companies. But the big 3, just about all the votes in America go through them, and they're all for-profit companies. That's important. But I want you to know a little bit about this company. This isn't Conrad Reynolds speaking. This is NBC Report. There's two short videos I want you to watch. Go ahead.
For years, our voting machines are not connected to the internet.
Those are not connected. Voting machines themselves are not connected to the internet.
We knew that wasn't true.
And cybersecurity expert Kevin Skoglund wanted to prove it. So he and 9 other independent security consultants created their own search engine looking for election systems online.
We found over 35 have been left online, and we're still continuing to find more.
Voting machines themselves are not designed to online. So how are some voting systems getting online? We got a first-hand look when we visited ES&S, the largest manufacturer of voting machines, and talked to CEO Tom Burt.
Why is there a Sprint thing here and a Verizon thing here?
There's a small percentage of jurisdictions in the country, a lot of them are in Florida, who have decided that they want to modem unofficial results to the election office.
You know, you do wonder sometimes whether or not our thirst for quick results sometimes may be interfering with our thirst for accurate results.
You know, Cynthia, that's not my place to judge that one. Again, these jurisdictions have a need for that.
ES&S insists while there are 14,000 of its modems in use,
there are firewalls separating those modems from the public internet, and that the modems are turned on for just seconds. But Skoglund says that's not enough.
We're seeing Illinois and Michigan.
Last summer, Skoglund's team found ES&S voting systems online in at least some of the precincts in 11 states, including the battleground states of Florida, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
If you were able to get inside these systems, could you do more than perhaps mess up the preliminary results? Could you actually get deeper inside the system?
Absolutely, and that's my biggest concern.
Top computer scientist Andrew Appel agrees with Skoglund.
Once a hacker starts talking to the voting machine through the modem, they can hack the software in the voting machine and make it cheat in future elections.
In August, Skoglund took his results to election officials and the press, assuming the systems would get taken down. We were astonished when he showed us some of those systems are still online.
Modems in voting machines are a bad idea. Those modems are network connections, and that leaves them vulnerable to hacking by anybody who can connect to that network.
We should make sure that voting machines are not connected to the internet.
Period.
Period.
The good news, Lester, experts told us most of the country votes with paper and pencil. Those ballots counted by scanners without modems. That means audits and recounts are possible. Now, having said that, they urge jurisdictions using modems and touchscreens to get rid of them.
Remember that last sentence. What did they just say? If you have modems or a touch screen, get rid of them.
Yes.
They're ballot marking devices. That's important, folks. I talked with Professor Appel, the guy that was on there. I talked with both of those experts, actually. I've talked with. Has anybody in the state of Arkansas cared enough to even call these people, or talk to them, or ask them anything before they want to pass any laws? No, they have not. I've talked to them. They did not call them. Okay, so that is a problem because I'm telling you right now, we got a problem. So next one. I want you to watch this one too. Who owns ES&S?
This is all of our go-forward equipment here.
That's Tom Burt, CEO of the largest voting machine maker in America, ES&S, one of 3 companies that dominate the market. Nearly half of all voters will cast ballots on their machines.
I think part of the reason there are only a few players in the market is this industry is significantly underfunded. Margins are very thin.
We'll have to take his word for that, as Burt says their financial information is confidential. And so it turns out, is who owns them.
We are 100% owned by 2 sets of people. One is the McCarthy Group, which is based here in Omaha, Nebraska. They're a private equity company, and the rest is executive management at ES&S.
But who's the McCarthy Group?
No foreign ownership. It's a group of private investors who operate here in Omaha.
Why the lack of transparency? Well, let's see the names of the folks.
We can do that.
But they didn't. Later, writing to us, McCarthy Group bylaws prevent it from disclosing individual owner names. Another concern, their supply chain. NBC News tracked ES&S shipping records over 5 years and found many parts, including electronics and tablets, made in Asia. Am I correct that some of them come from the Philippines and China?
Some do, yes. I wish we didn't have to participate in a global supply chain. That's not the world we live in.
But now lawmakers have introduced tough new legislation to make that supply chain transparent when it comes to China and voting machines.
Your story is going to give us fresh information, fresh data to get that passed.
Tom Burt is well aware his company is under scrutiny.
We read the papers and understand how citizens feel about the security of their vote. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they're as secure as humanly possible.
Having said that, there are virtually no requirements when it comes to cybersecurity and election systems. ES&S voluntarily asked the Idaho National Labs to test their products, but ES&S declined to share the results.
I'm wondering, is that something you can ask for?
Absolutely, and I am going to ask for this information on the basis of your report, and I'm going to say I want it within 10 days.
Well, Cynthia, Congress has taken action on this just this week, right?
That's right, Lester. The House and Senate agreed to provide $425 million to states to help them protect their voting systems, though critics say it's a year late and $1 billion short.
That is the company that's responsible for running all of our elections. And we got people standing up for that. Standing up for that. We don't know who owns them. We don't know who is behind the curtain, running all of our elections. We simply don't know. And that wasn't Fox News. That was NBC. NBC. So my point is, I'm wanting transparency, folks. That's what I want. This is not transparency. Okay? And nobody who's defending this can say that. Can say that this is a good system. They don't know. They simply don't know. Good people, but they don't know. Okay? And so anybody who tells you everything is safe and 100%, I heard it, I saw it on the video. We do audits, correct? 100% accuracy, folks. We did 5 counties. We did 5 counties in 2020. Did y'all hear that? Do you know what the audit consists of? See, that's the problem. They don't tell you everything. They tell you just a little bit where you think an audit is what an IRS would do if they came to your house, right? They'd go through every receipt. They would look at every ballot. They would go through every one and count every race to make sure it's accurate, right? That's not what they do at all. All they do is they go into a county. In this case, they did 5 counties in 2020. And all they did was they go and they go, okay, they go to the election commissioner's office with all the ballots, go 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just randomly take these 5 boxes, pull them out. They open it up. They take out the DS200 tape that came out of that machine that night. And it says, okay, there's 500 ballots in this box and 450 votes. They do 1 race. They did presidential race. They did Trump's race. They said, oh, there's 450 votes for Trump and 50 for Biden. They count them. Boom, that's it. Then they do the other 4 boxes and they're done. That's it. That is the audit. That is the audit. Okay, in the general, that professor up there, Appel, told me and other cybersecurity experts, if there's ever any cheating in a state, in a red state, it's going to happen in the primary. Because if you win the primary, we all know you win the general, correct? And they say in our blue state, solid blue state, it's going to be in the primary. Guess what? In Arkansas, in Arkansas, we do not, by law, do not do primaries, folks. They only audit a general. That should make everybody in here wonder why. Why? Okay, I mean, why is that in there? Okay, this year they're going to do 20, or 15. 15 counties. Well, same kind of audit, not the audit we're thinking of, the audit that I actually explained to you. That is a problem because we have no way of checking. The system is bad. Anytime you get a computer between the voter and the final count, you got a problem. If anybody, I wish everybody in here, some of you were there, had come to the Mike Lindell event that we had on the 18th of March. I had a guy there, Colonel Sean Smith. He's an expert. And if you go to our website, the whole thing, the video is on our website. You can watch the whole thing. Forget my part. You've already seen it here. Go to Sean Smith's part. Right after me. Go in and listen to what he has to say about the parts and the machines and why you cannot trust any of that and why it's a problem. Go in there and look at that. I think it's important. I had one election commissioner, very nice lady. She said, well, Colonel, you just don't know what you're talking about. Let me school you a little bit. I said, okay, school me. You know, she was really, real nice. But she said, look, this is what we do. And she went through the LNA test, the logic and accuracy test. Anybody know what that is? And they'll show you. And by state law, they have to show you, okay, they advertise it 48 hours or whatever, and then people come down. You can come look at it and watch them do it. They got a test deck of about 300 ballots that they run through a machine. That test deck is sent to them by whom? ES&S, number 1. ES&S takes that ballot, and they run that through the machine, and they go, look, see, 100 for Daffy Duck, 100 for Goofy, and 100 for Donald Duck. It's all good. It counted them exactly right. This is what she was telling me. We do that. We do the LNA test, and we test all the machines. I said, that's great, but then what do you do? I said, when do you do that? She said, a week before the election. I said, okay, a week before the election, you do that. She goes, oh, hold on a second. I know where you're going, Colonel. She said, we make sure we lock that. We lock it, and then we put security tape on it, right? And she's being honest. I said, great. And she said, and then we take it and we put it in a secure room, and they're not connected to the internet. That's what she told me. And she said, they're not connected to the internet, and guess what? We know that election day is ready to go. I go, great. Let me ask you a quick question then. 2, actually. First, do you know what's inside that machine that makes it work? She goes, what do you mean, a computer? I said, yeah, it's a computer. I said, in fact, it's a Dell computer. In fact, all Dell computers over the last 5 years have been made in China. You know where they're made in China? Wuhan, China. Y'all heard about Wuhan? Know where that's at? That's where they're made. All right, so I said, that's what's inside that machine. It's a computer. It's not a machine, it's a computer. And so what happens is that, I said, since it's made in China, as a national security expert, I will tell you, China is one of our biggest threats. Yes. to our country and our way of life. China has departments of 10,000 people that are solely dedicated to breaking in every system we have, stealing all of our intellectual information. And guess what? We're supposed to believe that that place in China, that communist country, is saying, "Oh, these computers are going into for the election. We're not going to touch those." Are you kidding me? Almost every chip on that computer is made in China. Okay, so but anyway, I said, aside from that, let me ask you, I'm still talking to the election commissioner. I said, aside from that, let me ask you a quick question. Do you have a computer at home? She said, yes. I said, if you have a computer at home, have you ever in your life ever changed the date or time for daylight savings time on that computer? Ever? She started thinking, no, I never have. Why? Because it knows the time. You don't think that that computer on that knows what day it is? It's not going to start. If you talk to anybody in election integrity and cybersecurity, they'll tell you that any programming will make sure it doesn't start before election day. So you can run all the tests you want before the election day, and guess what? You're not going to find anything. And if they program it to where it's only for men that are 80 years old from 11 to 12, and from 12 to 1, women from 70 to 80, they can do this, folks. This can happen. This is no pie in the sky. Okay, this can happen. And so the point is that we're supposed to trust this, that none of that's going to happen. It's all good. And and she's telling me it's not online. And I go, well, what are your credentials to tell me that? I mean, I just would like to know. How do you know? Well, I was told. Of course, she was told, and she believes it. They're told there's no modem. It's not on the line. And she said, look, you see any lines going to the computer? And I held up my cell phone, and I said, there's no lines here either. Right? There's no lines here either. And there's nobody in the state of Arkansas that can tell you how an iPhone works, I guarantee you. And how many people in here have had the opportunity to be able to be speaking about something, and then all of a sudden you get ads? Okay, do you think that iPhone is listening to you? Hears you? If you don't think so, just say Siri. And just see if it's listening to you. Hey Siri, listen, let's do that and see if it's listening to you. Of course it is. Right? My question for you is, if they told you, guess what? You can't prove it. You can't prove it. Then it never happened. Because none of us have the expertise, none of us have the ability, the kind of equipment that's needed to be able to prove it. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Of course it does. It's very possible. And when you get to elections, it's a lot of money. Now, I know I'm running out of time, so I got to be quick here because everybody's going to want to know, well, then, Colonel, what's the solution? Right? Solution is paper ballots. I've showed this ballot before. I will show you again because I think it's important. This is a ballot that was, and oh, by the way, this does not cost $9 a ballot. That was information that was being put out to Sebastian County and Crawford County, number one, which is a lie. Okay, number two, I don't own any stock in the paper company that makes these. None. Okay? If you can't kill the message, try to kill the messenger. Say bad things about him on the Senate floor, right? This is what you do when you can't win an argument with the facts. That's the problem. So this is a ballot that came from Arizona. I'll just let you know they were going to use this for the November 2022 election. It didn't get through. Long story, they passed it, everything, but a court shot it down because they had two bills in one, and they said they had to redo it. Bottom line, I contacted the company that made these. They're in Addison, Texas. And I said, can you please show me or send me some of these so I can look at them and tell me exactly what they're made of. There's like 12 security features in this ballot. This isn't the ballot from 40 years ago. If y'all look at this, can y'all see through that? Do y'all see any lines? Yeah. You see the lines?
Yeah.
You see the lines in here? Oh, yeah. Okay, so if you were to make a Xerox copy of this, that's number one. All those lines show up. You would know that it's a fake ballot. Let me show you something else here. It's got 12 security features, but the two that I really like are this one here, which is the built-in hologram. It's a built-in. There's just not a sticker. All right, you're not going to be able to counterfeit that. That's number one. Because you got to have a ballot that cannot be counterfeited. That's what's key. But I want to show you something else. I don't know if can we turn the lights off? No, can't turn the lights off?
Yeah, you can right there.
What's that?
Yeah, you can turn them off.
Oh, good. So y'all can probably see that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See that? Okay. Y'all see that? It's just a watermark, right? But it's very sophisticated the way that watermark is put on. This is not, you can't counterfeit this. So how would it work? How many people do y'all have vote in the primary here? In your county? Roughly? 4,000?
20,000.
20,000 in the primary.
Yes.
Okay, so you have 20,000 people vote in the primary. How this would work was you would get somewhere around, say, 25,000 ballots. You get 25,000 because you got to bring in accountability back into the county clerk's office, into the county, and we all have to own our own elections. We have to own them. So guess what? You say, okay, 25 of these, 20, or you got 20,000 voters, you get 25,000 pieces of paper that are accounted for. And so you print out the ballot styles, you use them in your election. After you're done, if you're 20,000, then you'll have 5,000. You should have 5,000 left over. You have to account for all 25,000. Does that make sense, everybody? Absolutely. So if you have a ballot that cannot be counterfeited, and now you're accounting for all 25,000, there's no stuffing of the ballots. None of that is going to happen or can happen. Because you know why? I trust my county clerks. I trust my poll workers. I want them to count my ballot. And there are ways to count these and get this through. Why is that such a problem? I had a couple of county clerks that got really upset and said, we don't want to get rid of our voting centers and we don't want to get rid of our tabulators, because guess what? The tabulators make it easy for us to get it done on election night because we always get hammered by the candidates, right? I said, great. Then what will you do is, I don't know about this particular ballot, but there are ballots that you can run that are like this, not secure like this, but they can run through a DS200. You can do that. So I said, keep your DS200. Make it where you fill these out by hand. You run them election night through the DS200 for a quick night election count. After that, you have to hand count. How many here will be volunteering to be able to count? Well, there you go. I mean, you're going to have, and then you have a secure election when you hand count these and you go through and one person checking for the watermark, a Democrat and a Republican counting the ballots. You have a camera over the table looking at the ballot. Every one of them that goes through there, you may have to have 4 tables or 5 tables set up. Now you have a fully transparent election with no possibility of injecting ballots. All right? And you have everybody then who questions it say, go watch the video. It's right there. Okay, and why wouldn't we want full transparency? Why wouldn't we? Okay, and I'm just telling you, that is why. But nobody wanted to hear me say that. Nobody wanted to talk to me because they knew they cannot argue what I just said. They can't argue my sources. You go and look. They cannot argue any of that. All they're doing is trying to say, put your faith in us, in that company, and in this. Put your faith in that. We won't steer you wrong. We promise. Okay? Nothing's ever happened wrong. And I'm just telling you, folks, I'm not willing to do that. I'm done doing that, and I am going to fight hard. I need all your help. We are AVII. We are also suing. I got the most brilliant attorney team in Arkansas. I mean, really, they are great. We're going to win our lawsuit. Okay, and the reason we're going to win a lawsuit because, as I told Clint, let's just hold this up in front of the judge and say, tell me who that is, sir, or the jury. Tell me who that is. If you can't, I can't verify the vote. You can't verify who this is. We win. That is, and why is that important? I want to get rid of every ES&S tabulator in America. Every one of them. I know I could talk all night. Is there anything I'm missing, Will? Signs. Oh, yeah. We got signs here. We want everybody to grab a sign, put that in your yard. Let your JPs know. By the way, JPs are good people, and so is your judge. He's a good man. He let me come in and talk to him, and I really appreciate that. I don't know if I fully sold him, but he took the time to listen to me, and I appreciate that. And some of the JPs, but they're not our enemies. They are people we have to convince. We have to let them know that we have to get rid of the machines, and that is all there is to it. There is no middle ground here. And even with SB 250 that Kim Hammer pushed through, even with that bill, we still can do it. And I encourage all of you to get behind this effort. You can go to our website. If you want to donate. We need money to pay Clint and Jen, or they're going to hate me, right? But basically, we're going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to. That's number one. And number two, we're going to get paper ballots in Arkansas. We are going to get rid of these machines. I'll hang around. I don't know if you probably not got time for. You do. I got time for questions. Great. Anybody got a question? Anybody want to sharpshoot me? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I've heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I've heard that we cannot get into our voting machines without damaging them or being out of warranty or whatever, so we really have no idea what is inside our machines.
That's correct. You cannot get in, otherwise it does void the warranty. Okay, only ES&S people are allowed to service the machines. And by the way, you are all paying a big penny. You ought to FOIA and ask exactly how much you're paying ES&S every year. I think you would find that important. And you know, there's another organization that fought us tooth and nail on this called the AAA, or the Association of Arkansas Counties, AAC rather. Okay, they fought us big time on this. Okay, and I think that every one of you ought to be asking, how much money does our county give? And what do we get for it? I think you ought to be asking that question. I certainly would. Okay, because they fought us. They're using your tax money, which is, they're a nonprofit organization, but they're not a state agency. And they are, in fact, taking your money and they are fighting us, okay, for what you're wanting now. So that's something you ought to be looking at. But
we have a JP employed by them.
well, I mean, again, I'm not going to disparage anybody's character or intentions or anything else. I'm not, because I don't know people. People will disparage me and have never met me or never talked to me. They don't even know me. They don't know my heart. They don't know where I stand. They don't know what I've done for this country. Already, they have no clue. I don't have time to waste on those people. We're losing our country. Okay, and we have to get it back. And the way we're going to get it back is by controlling our elections. If we don't control our elections, ladies and gentlemen, and know for sure the person you voted for is counted, nothing else matters. Okay, we have selections, not elections, right? And that's why I'm fighting. That's why this is the hill I'm dying on, right here. Because this has got to be done. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
A huge part of the puzzle is more people that vote, it's harder for them to cheat. Paper ballots are obviously a huge part of the puzzle. Still, 100% behind. Still, the voter rolls are so corrupt. That's right. We can't get our hands on that too. I'm 100% here. I'm not saying, but the voter rolls are so corrupt, and they all know it. It's like there's no smoke and mirrors us doing this section when they got this whole other corrupt deal to plug right into the system.
Voter rolls have to be fixed without question. The way I'm looking at it, for me, I'm singularly focused right now. And I have to be, otherwise I'm an inch deep and a mile wide. I've got to focus and be able, that's what I learned in my military training, you got to focus in order to be able to defeat the enemy in their weak spot, exactly what matters. That is very important, the voter rolls, without question. But if we don't get rid of the machines, again, you're never 100% sure that your vote actually counted. Yes, sir.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
Okay, so your organization is pushing for one-day voting?
No, sir.
No, you're not?
No. I would love to have one-day voting, but we are not pushing for that right now. We would love to have it, and eventually we will. But hopefully, but right now, no. Right now, my sole focus is to get rid of the machines, to get rid of this.
Well,
that's my focus.
Just a food for thought. 65% of the people in the general election last year in Saline County voted early.
Mm-hmm.
And for older people, we live in a retirement community.
Right.
It's difficult to stand in line for an hour or two if you got a cane or a walker or whatever. So it's great being able to vote early, and I would definitely argue strenuously against.
Right. I've got some questions about how long we vote. I'd like to cut a week off of it at least, and then what you could do is take that money you're spending on that, spend it on paper ballots. Okay, that's one thing you could do. You could save some money. But again, I'm not going to focus on those things because then you get lost in the weeds and you lose your focus. Our focus is to get rid of the machines. And that's what we intend to do. And by the way, just so you know, when you go in and vote right now, you have to wait. If there's a lot of people coming in, you have to wait for one of those machines to open up. Anybody have to wait for that? If you have paper ballots, guess what? You could throw up a piece of cardboard in the chair and you could expand it up to 50 or 60 people at one time voting. You don't have to wait. You fill it out. And by the way, just so you know, in Pulaski County, on election day, you know what they do? They go back to precincts on election day in Pulaski County, the largest county. And guess what they do? They use a ballot, an ES&S ballot, and they fill in the ovals. And they take that and put it through the DS200 machine. That's all we're asking. We're saying the same thing, but do a hand count as a certified count. The other is just a preliminary, unofficial count for election night only. And then you do the hand count of every race. That's what we're advocating. That keeps everybody honest. Because if the machines were going to cheat, they're not going to cheat when they know there's a hand count coming. Okay, that's just a fact. Yes, ma'am.
How many issues did we have in the 20 and 22 elections? I didn't see anything on the map that you showed.
You're probably not. Well, over here?
Yeah, the one
Yeah,
you
that was
showed.
it. They didn't check Arkansas. I called him and talked with him. They didn't look at Arkansas. So I don't know. But I will tell you this. You won't know unless nobody else that looked at this. This was a private individual and group. Nobody else is looking. Nobody else is trying to find out what's going on. Okay, everybody just goes through like sheep, like everything's okay. It's not, folks. It is not. It can't be without full transparency. It's kind of like y'all remember the Challenger? And remember back in the 80s, they had the, what was it called? Huh? Yeah, the O-rings. Remember that? Everybody, and people warned them. Could be a problem. This is a problem. We've never had a problem yet. No problem until it exploded. Then they go back. So I'm warning everybody. This is a problem that we can solve and fix with our friends and neighbors right here in our counties. And this is a county, it's got to be bottom up because nobody from the top is going to come down and change this, folks. Nobody. Okay? They're not. It's got to be from the ground up, and you got to get everybody in this room plus another 500 people to go talk to the quorum court. Sorry, Judge. But go to the quorum court and be polite and respectful. But we want a change. We must have a change, and that is and it's our county, it's our election. Somebody else, yes, sir.
Do the representatives, our senators, JPs, judge, any of them, do they have any information that we don't have on these machines that give them a comfort beyond what we're able to see?
Not that I found out. You ought to ask them. Here's a key question. Okay, where's the source? Why can't we see the source code? Why is it proprietary? Why are we allowing any company to operate our elections and keep that private? If it is, I understand proprietary, but it shouldn't belong in elections. It should not belong in our elections. We should say, no, we reject that. We want full transparency. If you can't get it, you are not in our state.
What could be proprietary about county?
That's right. That's what every cybersecurity expert will tell you, and that's not that. And by the way, I'll finish on this. I don't have anything against John Thurston at all. I got nothing against our Secretary of State. I will just tell you, though, when I asked to talk with him, I sent him an email, and then I saw him in December, and he told me, point blank, what do I have to talk to you about? That's what he said. And I said, maybe because I'm a combat veteran. I spent 30 years of my life protecting your right to vote, and I'm asking you for an opportunity to share what I know that may be of value as the senior election official in our state. He goes, I got nothing to say to you. So that was it. So I just want to let you know, it's not because I didn't try. I had all kinds of people saying, Colonel, why don't you go talk to Secretary of State? Well, I tried, and that was the answer. So you're going to cut me off, or you got one more question? One more.
I'm just curious, have you asked them what they're going to do in the future? AI's off, anybody done ChatGPT or any of these things? AI's going to be in those computers changing whatever it you want. So I'd like to ask them, what are they doing to protect us as we go forward?
Well, I just found that most people are good people, or whoever they are that are supporting the machines. The problem is a lot of people are invested, and when I bring this thing up, a lot of people feel like I'm attacking them, and I'm not. I'm not attacking anybody, because a lot of people have certified elections. They've told everybody they're good, and now they're vested in that position, and they don't want to change that position. And I understand that, and I just have to say we have to agree to disagree. But I have nothing against anybody personally, but I do have against this company, and we need to make sure we get rid of them. Thank you very much. I'll be hanging around for any questions. Thank you.
And just for communication's sake, yes, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, who in Arkansas has the authority over ES&S?
Conrad, you might know.
What's that?
The answer to that. Who in Arkansas has?
Who has authority over ES&S here in Arkansas?
Right, ES&S is here at the invitation and approval of the Secretary of State. Secretary of State by law approves the machines that are used in our state, and that's who it is. Okay.
Well, that's why he didn't have time.
Oh, sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Lots of questions. I'm sure there will be more questions.
I'm just saying, I heard like on national news that
that they're watching Arkansas. And when I say that, everyone said, oh, we're just Arkansas, but the nation's watching us as to what we're gonna be doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It does bring up, it's an important topic. That's why we had Conrad come here. Thank you to both of our speakers, but we are going to move on to new business. We could discuss this all night. I think the answer is, though, discussing this as much as possible. Yes. Because typically what's easiest and what's best go in two different directions. So we're going to move on to new business. Is there any new business before we get into report? Yes, sir. Come on. Yes.
At the second district meeting in Morrilton a few weeks ago, some of you were there, we passed a resolution. I think it's time we do the same thing here.
Point of order. Can't check with the parliamentarian, but unless it's been published and sent to everyone, I don't think you can vote on it. So.
Don't we have copies?
We do have copies.
What's that?
He's saying that we can't
Was
pass
it
a
sent-
resolution.
was it sent out to all the members?
Let's ask the parliamentarian. Parliamentarian, under new business, you are proposing a
resolution, and we did the same thing in Morrilton at the second district.
Yes, sir.
You would have to present it. You can present it tonight, but we'd have to vote on it at the next meeting. That's what the last resolution we had, that was what we did then. It was presented to call out other states for their elections during the 2020 cycle and tell them to get their stuff right. So it was presented at one meeting, and at the next meeting, we came back and voted on it and approved that, sent it out to all Republican state parties.
So you're saying that what we did in Morrilton was illegal? You're the first vice president.
I don't have the control over what we did in Morrilton over that decision.
It's routinely done at district committee meetings.
Respectfully, someone asked my opinion, I'm giving my answer.
Well, we would have to.
Do it and ask for forgiveness later.
There you go. Well, I think the best answer is this. We can follow suit with what we did and certainly represent it again at the next meeting, but we'll present it tonight. We'll vote on it tonight, and then we can advertise it, bring it up for discussion between now and then, and go from there. But I do believe that we're following the precedent that was set by the second congressional district meeting. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, district committees have different rules than county committees. Why?
Did you cite the rules you're talking
And I'm just telling you that resolution.
Well, okay, hold on. Okay, let's stop. We're going to disagree. Noted. I do appreciate that. I always appreciate your input.
Chairman of the state.
Yes, sir. Understood. Noted. I do note that. And then, do you have a copy of the resolution? We'll present the resolution. We'll vote on it tonight. Okay? Good.
You already have the copies and I'll
Would
pass
you
them
like to
out.
pass them out,
yes,
please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Where are they?
On the desk. Up right up here. It's on there.
Yes.
So this is the exact same resolution that we passed at the second district, and no, it was not emailed out in advance or anything like that. Whereas integrity in elections is vital to regain our God-given freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution and critical for the future of America, electronic voting machines are not transparent to the electorate. Electronic voting machines have been proven to be corruptible on multiple levels. Electronic voting machines employ unreadable and programmable barcodes which are susceptible to fraud by nefarious actors and may be in violation of Arkansas law. Whereas paper ballots cannot be hacked. Paper ballots were used for hundreds of years. Now therefore be it resolved, the Saline County Republican Committee supports the removal of electronic voting machines to be replaced by secure, watermarked, and numbered paper ballots. The Saline County Republican Committee encourages the Saline County Quorum Court to implement this change prior to the March 2024 primary election. And we implore justices of the peace and other elected officials to not obstruct and subvert the will of the people to secure elections. The Saline County Republican Committee calls upon justices of the peace and other elected officials to vote for and fully implement high-security paper ballots expeditiously. That's the exact same resolution we passed at the second district, and I propose that we pass it here tonight.
Second.
You have to be against America. Good night.
Second. There's a motion, there's a second. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I got some discussion. Can I speak for
Yes,
it?
sir.
So, one thing I didn't think about until I was listening to Colonel Reynolds is in one of the committee meetings, the Director of Elections for the Secretary of State's office gave some testimony. And she was asked, Leslie Bellamy was asked, point blank, what's up with this machines reading barcodes? Is that true? She said, yes, that is 100% true. The machine is reading the barcodes. And then the follow-up question to that was, how does the voter know that his vote is accurately recorded by the barcode? She said there's no way for the voter to know. The only thing the voter can do is wait until we do an audit, and then the audits confirm what the results of the election were. Now, that's a set of circular reasoning, but I was flabbergasted because as the attorney directing the lawsuit, I thought, well, you people denied this in your response. So about a week or two later, I saw the head legal counsel for the Secretary of State, and I said, did you hear Leslie Bellamy's testimony? He goes, yeah, I mean, it's true. Okay, so it's true that our machines do not comply with Arkansas law. It's true it's reading the barcode. If we're going to use a machine, I don't think it should be the ones that are currently approved, so I'll be voting for this resolution.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. There's discussion. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment. Could you say that about the state law? It's state law that we know who we vote for.
But it's both state and federal law. Under state law and federal law, they're the same. It says the voter must be able to verify in a private and independent manner his or her votes before the ballot is cast. So those names that Colonel Reynolds showed you at the bottom mean nothing. That's right. Absolutely nothing. I've heard people say the barcodes tell the machine where to look. I've heard.
How does the barcode verify a signature?
I can't answer that because I can't read or speak barcode. And so, but it is both state and federal law that these machines are violating. Okay, Mrs. Lancaster had a point or something she wanted to say. Call a question.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Call a question.
Something about the rule. So I just flipped through the rule book real quick. I didn't see anything requiring a resolution to be circulated in advance. And also I have Robert's Rules of Order right here. 4.5 does say that it should be, but it doesn't say shall. So that indicates.
So there's a call to vote. There's a motion to move to a vote. Yes, sir.
If the parliamentarian has given his rule on the rules, is there anything that can overshadow that? The rules.
Yeah. I think the rule and the chair. I do believe the chair is allowed to. Again, I noted that question. I think Jennifer has clarified the rule, and I think that that's what allows us to move forward with the vote.
The rule on the resolution, but not the rule on overruling the parliamentarian.
Mr. Parliamentarian, would you like to readdress this situation based on what Jennifer has discussed?
So my ruling was based off of the previous actions done based off of precedent of this county committee, which I cannot base it off of what happened in the second district because that is outside of the rules of this county committee. I am basing it off of my understanding of this county committee. We've only ever passed one other resolution, and when that was presented, it was presented at one meeting. It was discussed. Can we vote on it then? The decision was no, we cannot vote on it. Then at the next meeting, it was then voted on unanimously and passed. And so that was the reason why I made my decision to answer your question when I was asked upon.
Okay, so just to be clear, is your decision still the same or has it changed in light of Robert's Rules of Order?
I would say since this county committee has based it off the rules of previously stated and how we have previously handled this same similar situation, my ruling still stays the same.
Thank you.
Is there a way to vote on whether we want to vote on it or not?
No, I think the most important thing to do, again, we need to make sure we're following the rules. Right. But again, as chair, my decision is that we should be able to vote on this.
Yes.
I think that I understand the Robert's Rules of Orders. I respect Steve. I respect Drew. But I also believe that we have an opportunity to discuss, and we've had zero discussion about, zero opposition about the discussion for this. Does anybody would like to come up here and discuss any opposition?
Mr. Chairman, I would love to sit there and go ahead and entertain everybody for about an hour as to why we need to keep the ES&S machines and the benefits of what we've got.
Please do.
Hang on,
No, please,
I'm not
please.
finished. But I don't think it'd be fair to the people because we've been here over an hour already. So it'd be great to have another meeting and hear from others that feel differently than Conrad Reynolds. I think that'd be great.
They've been invited.
No, we're good, we're good. So there is a motion on the floor, there was a second, there has been discussion, there's been called for a vote, and we were going to move to a vote. All of those in favor of adopting the resolution supporting paper ballots, please say aye. Aye. All of those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Well, just to respond to what Steve
No.
said. We invited John Thurston, and we invited the county clerk.
That is true. Yes, point of clarification is I did invite Mr. Thurston, Mr. Curtis here to participate in the round table discussion. That said, we're going to move on to is there any other new business to come before? Yes, ma'am.
I have a resolution that I'd like to propose to the body.
Okay. You can do it right there if you like.
I'll stay right here. Okay, so my name is Liz Bray, and I'm pretty new to this political party, but I've learned so much, and I love these people. But I want to tell you, I have a resolution to close the primaries.
Yes.
Now, I did not know the difference between closed and open primaries. And after I looked into it, and you have this in your hands, the first 2 points on here will tell you all you need to know. Whereas the 2022 Republican Party of Arkansas platform states, in order to ensure the integrity of the preferential primary election process, Arkansas Republicans support closed primaries in our state. Whereas the Republican Party of Arkansas currently has an open primary, which allows Democrats and others who do not believe in Republican principles to determine the Republican Party candidates. That's all I needed to hear. I do know that we've had Democrats and others that were not registered as Republicans, did not have our principles to vote in some of our elections, and they were in there to push liberal candidates. So I move that we adopt this resolution.
So there's a
as
motion
written.
on the floor to adopt a closed primary
I second
resolution.
it.
Seconded by Renee Allman. Any discussion? We'll move to,
Should the entire resolution be read into the record?
Scott, or I'll tell you what, give me a copy of it and I'll read it. Closed primary resolution, whereas the 2022 Republican Party of Arkansas platform states, in order to ensure the integrity of the preferential primary election process, Arkansas Republicans support closed primaries in our state, whereas the Republican Party of Arkansas currently has an open primary which allows Democrats and others who do not believe in Republican principles to determine the Republican Party candidates, whereas the Republican Party of Arkansas currently allows candidates to run for office as Republicans who are Democrats and others who do not believe in our Republican principles. Whereas Arkansas statute state ACA 73101A2 states organized political parties shall prescribe the qualifications for voting in their primary and their party primaries. Whereas Arkansas state statute ACA 77307A states each political party may establish by party rules additional qualifications for eligibility to vote in primary elections of the party. Whereas Arkansas state statute ACA 77201B4 states each political party shall be responsible for determining the qualification of candidates seeking nomination by the political party. Now therefore be it resolved by the Saline County Republican Committee that the Republican Party of Arkansas should adopt rules that qualified electors shall be registered as Republicans in order to vote in the Republican Party primary. Be it further resolved that the Republican Party of Arkansas should adopt rules that candidates running as Republican candidates for office be registered as Republicans. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just make a brief comment on that. The state party does have already in their platform to do a closed or partially closed primary. The problem is right now, and I know people aren't going to like hearing this, but we have no registration by party in the state of Arkansas currently. There's about 90,000 people that have designated themselves as Republicans, but they're not registered as Republicans. And there's about 70,000 people that have designated themselves as Democrats, but have not registered as Democrats. We're going to have to get the legislature to set it up where we have party registration. So yeah, the party's in favor of, having closed primaries or some kind of modified closed primary, but we have no registered Republicans or Democrats in the state of Arkansas.
This is the
I'd
first
like to
step toward it.
speak forward. Come on up.
So I appreciate what Mr. Lux has said. However, I actually did some research on this. I am still a lawyer. So the legislature cannot be in the business of telling a political party how to conduct the party's business. And I'm not just saying that as that sounds really good. Okay, the U.S. Supreme Court has said that. Okay, the U.S. Supreme Court has said that a party can close its primaries. It can partially open its primaries. It is a party matter. Now think for just a minute about the dangers of government telling the members of a political party what they can and cannot do. I have a real life example for you. It's called China. All right, Russia. Okay, if I support closing primaries for a couple of reasons. Okay, number one, the influence of dark money, which I don't even like the term dark money. If you don't know what dark money is, it's usually from PACs that pay for advertising. Okay, this is bad. Go and vote no. So you have a lot of emotive appeals as it comes up to the election that motivates people who otherwise would not have voted to get out and vote on one issue and either not vote the rest of the ballot or play eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, that's number one. And number two, there is some crossover voting. Okay, number three, these people that are here tonight, there's like the most people I've ever seen at the Saline County Republican Committee meeting. We have new members, and our membership is at an all-time high. And we are the people who have the pulse of the party. We are the people who have the pulse of the candidates. We are the people who create policy at a committee level and then up the chain. It is us who should pick the Republican Party's nominee. And so that's my opinion. But I disagree with the legislature thing. The legislature probably would never do it if they tried. It would be unconstitutional. This is a party issue.
That's right. Amen.
Thank you, Fred. Any other comments? All right. Anyone else? Any other comments in regards to the motion that's on the floor, closed primary resolution that was read?
Question, David.
Yes.
Since we don't have registered Republicans and Democrats in Arkansas, then how would we go about getting the entire or the majority of our county registered as Republicans before the election? I mean, then would they need to become a part of the Republican Party officially, or what would that process look like?
So the party at the state level would have to make a decision to close its primaries and require registration and set a registration period. And so I do agree with Mr. Lux that there's no requirement to register as a Republican or Democrat, but the party can create that as a condition of getting the Republican primary ballot.
And in so doing, we would basically disenfranchise everyone outside this room.
Well, so disenfranchise means to take away their right to vote.
Exactly.
We're not taking away their right to vote, but we're making a qualification that if they want to vote on the Republican ballot, that they have to be a member of the party. They can go vote on the Democrat ballot, and this is also a primary and not a general. So we're not disenfranchising them. We're only closing what is and I guess the right word might be relegating.
So would they need to pay a fee?
No, I've got to do something.
That would be equivalent to a poll tax.
Exactly.
So there couldn't be a fee, but you have to be registered.
Okay.
And I did it recently, you
one
just
last-
walk down the office down the street and they change you right away.
Okay. Chair's going to recognize Steve Lux.
Just one last point. Again, I don't have any problem with closed primaries. I mean, that's great. But we don't have, there's only 90,000 people that are designating themselves as Republicans out of 1.8 million people that are voters. So, I mean, if we're gonna just go ahead and close it off and say only the people that are designated right now, or are you gonna put in some kind of regulation that maybe everybody that designates by that time period or a month before? Or, I mean, it's a little more complicated than just passing something tonight and saying, okay, if you're a designated Republican right now, you can vote in our next primary, otherwise you can't vote.
Steve, you got a question right here.
No, I have a question
Okay.
for David. I don't have a question for you.
Yes.
So what this is just a resolution.
Correct.
This is not
Correct.
a law, it's just a resolution.
Right.
We are resolving as a Republican Party of Saline County that this is what we want to see. So this would go to like the second district, and we can say, hey, you know, we're with you on this. And then it goes to the state Republican Party meeting, and it says, hey, Republican Committee of the State of Arkansas, Saline County Republicans are saying they want this. So that's what it is. It's not a law, it's just a resolution.
That's right.
And it's a resolution that we can stand on and say, we support this.
A resolution that states the intent of the people of Saline County. Yes. Yes, sir. Scott Gray.
Steve says this is complicated, and it is. But sometimes complicated things are worth doing. And we don't need to sit down and shut up and play quiet like some people tell us to do. We need to stand up and do what's right.
And,
Yes.
And I would say this, please make sure, just as a point of order, any comments that you address them to the chair so that we're not attacking an individual. So there was a motion, there was a second. The motion is for closing the primaries. We've had discussion. Mr. Beck had called the question. So we're going to move to a vote. All of those in favor of supporting the resolution to close the Republican primaries say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. Thank you. I'm kind of hesitant to ask any more new business. Any more new business? Yes, ma'am.
Just one thing. I think most of us probably have heard that the former governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, has announced that he is intending, or he is running for the presidency of the United States. He's saying he's going to run as a Republican, but I think most of us in here know from our experience with him being our governor that it's probably not a good idea. He probably won't even win Arkansas, in my opinion. Okay, but nonetheless, I think that I would like, maybe, I don't know exactly for sure, but maybe to pass something from our committee that says we do not recommend him as someone that you would want to, support his campaign for. Because if you'll just give me like 3 or 4 minutes, Allison has a little video.
So just to clarify, you are asking that this committee give a not recommended?
Yes.
For Asa Hutchinson for president?
Yes.
And now, what was your second part you're asking now?
Allison has a little video that's like 3 minutes to kind of explain why I was wanting to say this.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
On the wireless? You must have lost it.
Oh, there it goes.
Thank you for joining us today for today's daily COVID-19 update. They also make recommendations that you can close bars, you can close restaurants, you can not open schools and things like that.
These guidelines. Just because you're at a wedding doesn't mean you should not wear your mask.
How many times over the last 15 years have schools in Arkansas been shut down because of flu outbreaks? How many times?
So what's the point?
What's my point? We didn't mask all the children and all the teachers and say you can't go to school and you have to sit 6 feet away from each other.
I have confidence in the vaccine approval process. That's a challenge for us, the Delta variant, and then secondly, our low vaccination rate in Arkansas. I would like to see our vaccination rate go up to make sure we do everything we can for the compliance that we need. Obviously, reduce risk if you all stayed at home. And for those who couldn't hear, does the vaccination protect against the Delta variant? And the answer is that it's proven to be effective against the variant as well.
It's civil rights law. This is the same thing. This is health decision rights law, but we are now preparing to let them run over that and totally disrupt the lives of many Arkansans where they will be without a job. And this will start with Tyson Walmart. It will go, if it starts, we're in a threshold, it will go to the rest, and this will really tear up the fabric of society.
Thank you.
Comes in without wearing a mask. It's not then about your health as much it is about everybody else's health around. And so it's a very selfish act to say we're not going to abide by those guidelines that are meant to protect you and others. And so
Last night we talked to the governor of Arkansas, a Republican called Asa Hutchinson. He just vetoed a bill that banned the chemical castration of children in Arkansas. And that led us to wonder, how exactly was Asa Hutchinson convinced that vetoing this bill was a good idea? You clearly aren't familiar with the research, and so my question is, have you spoken to any of the biggest employers, the big companies in Arkansas about this? Have you taken any calls from Tyson's, from Dillard, from Walmart? Has anyone from those companies called you about this bill?
No.
Have you, and I just want to be clear on this, have you spoken to any corporate interest in the state of Arkansas about this bill?
Tucker, I answered that. I answered that question, and I said, no, I have not.
Asa Hutchinson was quite definitive on that, and of course we had to take his word for it. He was very emphatic, no, I haven't. But it looks like he was, how to put this, lying.
I just came back from China.
Has 20 seconds left, Abby. 20 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for hitting the line. So there was a motion to give Asa Hutchinson, who is running for president, a not recommended status by the Saline County Republican Committee. There was a. Is there a second?
I second it.
Is there any discussion on that?
I thought he couldn't stand long.
I guess you won't be surprised I'm up here. Look, the not a recommended candidate is an option for a county committee, but if you look at the rules, basically we're not supposed to get involved in primaries. That's up to, individuals can get involved in primaries or PACs or whatever, but the county committee should not be getting involved in primaries, should not be taking a position. I mean, what would we think if somebody, for example, in Illinois made Trump a not a recommended candidate? We'd all have a hell of a problem with that. Look, I know Asa Hutchinson's not going to be the nominee of the party, and y'all can vote against him, and probably just about everybody in this room will vote for somebody other than him. But we shouldn't be in the business of doing a not a recommended candidate. Once you start going down this road, where are you going to stop? We're going to do it for state reps, state senators, all these things. That's your idea? Bad thing to do.
Yeah, you figured it out.
Bad thing to do.
You figured it out.
So there is a motion to give Asa Hutchinson a not recommended status who's running for president. There's a first, there's a second, there's discussion. Is there any further discussion, or is there
Question.
call to question? So we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of giving Asa Hutchinson a non-recommended status, say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Hey, we could have paper ballot.
No. Yeah. Fortunately, we have an electronic voting system here. No, I'm kidding. So we're going to do this one more time, but this time the body will stand up. All of those in favor, against giving, let me clarify this. All of those who choose to give Asa Hutchinson a non-recommended status, please stand up. Only if you are a member. Give me a moment to look. Thank you very much. You may be seated. All of those opposed to this, please stand up. Thank you very much. The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Point of order.
Requires a 2/3 vote.
I believe this requires a simple majority.
A non-recommendation requires a 2/3 vote.
Mr. Chair,
That's the rule.
I'll read the rule.
That's the rule.
Okay, Jennifer, would you?
Unless you want to rule differently.
He is correct about the 2/3, and I will just go ahead and read. Sorry, I have it saved on my phone. So county committees, by a 2/3 vote of the members present at any regular or duly announced special meeting, may vote that a particular candidate is not recommended.
So 2/3 vote?
Yes.
Okay, so we will, let's make sure we get this right. We're gonna do it one more time. I'm gonna go through here counting.
Question? Just a question. I just want to make sure, because again, we are setting precedent. What qualifies someone as a candidate?
Say it again.
What qualifies somebody officially as a candidate in the?
As a member, they're a voting member.
No. It says a particular candidate, that we can vote a particular candidate. So what is the definition of
We've already
particular
participated in the discussion. We've moved past the discussion to a vote.
She's asking, should it be when the person files or
We read the
when they
rule.
announce?
I was just wanted to clarify the language of the rule that was just read.
Okay.
So what is a particular candidate?
Okay, as far as the definition, I don't have that in front of me. However, I have called the FEC, and Mr. Hutchinson has filed his paperwork, and he is a candidate.
So he is a candidate.
I
Okay,
would call
thank you.
that an official candidate.
Thank you. So we're going to do this one more time, and please bear with me. I'm going to do a count, and I would like the parliamentarian to come with me, and he will do a count as well. Clint?
Could I ask one more question? I'm just curious, is this committee going to start okaying every candidate that runs for a position?
I'm not sure that that's a question that I can answer, so I'll note your comment, and we will move forward with the vote. All of those in favor of a non-recommended status for Asa Hutchinson, please stand up and remain standing until you have been counted by myself and Drew. No, proxies, you can only vote one time.
Just heard them say, plan to do this in every race. The parties are telling them to line you to vote.
Yeah, we've got it. If your proxy for someone to vote, you have to let me. Right, yes, they were telling us, but you were still allowed one vote. Thank you. Okay, you can sit down, please.
And the proxy. And the proxy vote. I can vote for myself, not
Just for yourself.
You can't tell me what to do.
Just a recommendation. Just a recommendation. You can vote for it.
Just don't stand up.
Well, he just said, take into consideration and back. Yeah, I'll do the same. What's that?
Okay, thank you very much. We have been able to calculate the vote, and the vote did pass, administering a non-recommended status to Hazen. Yes, Chair recognizes Mr. Webb.
Chairman, what was the vote?
It was 58.
Mr. Chairman, the rules require a 2/3 vote of the membership of a county committee. Our membership is nearly 150.
Thank you. Let's clarify that 1 second. Thank you for the point.
That is in, under primaries, under the county committee section, C.
He may have to get the non-recommend next month.
Section 5, oh goodness, I took a screenshot. Section 5A1, county committees by a 2/3 vote of the members present at any regular or duly announced special meeting may get the
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. The motion carries. We are going to continue moving on. We do have some news to share with you regarding the 2nd Congressional District meeting update. I would like to congratulate Jennifer Lancaster as the 2nd District Chair. And Jennifer, come on up. If you got a moment, do you mind just sharing a little information real quickly? And if you would like to also discuss that with the women's report as well, but that was awesome. It was great to be a part of the 2nd Congressional District meeting. You did a great job.
Well, I just want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for the trust and the support that you've placed in me. I'm truly humbled, and I'm so honored that you chose me to be your district chair. And I just promise to be a constant resource as we grow our county committee. You know, the most powerful group within the RPA is you. It's the people. It's the county committees. But it seems like somewhere along the line, we got convinced that we serve the elected officials. But the truth is, they serve the people.
That's right.
This is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And I'm going to be constantly reminding you of that, and we're going to be moving forward together as we come together as one people.
There you go.
to represent our Christian values and our conservative principles. And I promise that if you use your voice, which I hope you will, I believe that's why you elected me, because you knew that I would support you when you use your voice. And I encourage you that now that you have elected me, I encourage you to use your voice. And if you do it in a respectful way that promotes our principles and our platform, I promise to have your back. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what the 2nd District has done so far. We were, and I say we, Drew and Scott, we were elected in just a few weeks ago, but we've already had our executive meeting. And we're working on our next district meeting, which will be this fall. So that should be announced pretty soon. You'll know the location, you'll know the date, you'll have an agenda. We're already working on speakers. We're going to have some great speakers that I think you guys will really enjoy. And we hope you all come, even not just district members, but I hope you all come just to enjoy some great fellowship together so we can really just spend a day bonding and being with like-minded folks. So, of course, we're also working on a website, which is something that I promised, because I really want us to be transparent and accessible. So you're going to know who is sitting on your district executive committee. We're also working on Constitution Camp. We hope to get all of the counties involved because, as you know, 2 years ago when I started it, we had 70 kids. Last year we had over 110. We're expecting even more this year. So we need volunteers, and so I'm hoping that the counties will come together as we teach our kids about our Judeo-Christian heritage and teach them about the very foundation of this country and what's made it great. We're also getting commitments from those speakers, as I said, and we're working on our fall meeting. Oh, also Drew is taking the lead to identify seats that are currently held by Democrats and Independents, and we're going to be working very soon on flipping those. Yes. So. I'm very proud of him for taking the initiative on that, and I'm just so grateful to be working with these fine people that you guys chose to elect in. And I just want to close with just saying that when I was working on the website and thinking of content to put up there, I came across, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, where he says that we are the salt, we're the light, and a city on a hill cannot be hidden. And it was Reagan who took that and said that we are a shining city on a hill. And that statement has become like a beacon of truth and hope for the rest of the world. And so it's my hope that we're going to make the 2nd District a beacon of hope for the rest of the state. And so again, I just thank you. I'm so grateful, and I promise to work every day to make you proud.
Thank you, Jennifer. Young Republicans report, Rusty?
Saline has spearheaded a campaign for this Saturday. We are going to go help clean up some from the Pulaski County tornado. We were joined by the Central Arkansas chapter, Northwest Arkansas chapter, the Garland chapter, and the Faulkner chapter. So we are leading the state in helping out our neighbors in Pulaski County to try to clean up and repair after this terrible disaster. So we would encourage everyone, if you'd like to help out, to meet at Emmanuel Baptist at 9:30 Saturday and help our neighbors clean up after this awful tragedy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Elected officials, before we move into your report, I would like to say thank you. I know these meetings aren't necessarily easy, especially right now, but it shows something about your character and your commitment for being here. So thank you very much. CJ, any update from the Quorum Court?
The only thing I want to give an update on is a little personal to me is next week is National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, where we recognize the 911 operators that are rarely seen or recognized as first responders. So we are running a resolution to make sure that they are recognized that way in Saline County. So.
Thank you. Ms. Whitley?
Yes, also we're running a resolution currently that would support the cleanup of getting the sexually oriented materials out of our children's section of the
Oh, I can't.
Any report? Matt? Yes, sir.
Also, at that same Quorum Court meeting, we'll be giving an update on our American Rescue Plan funds, the 3 projects, including jail expansion of the AWIN State Radio Network for our first responders, and long-term water source for security of water, long-term way past our lives for Saline County.
Thank you. Chisholm, any report?
You know, we got a proposal that we're working on, for the litter in Saline County. I don't know how many of y'all noticed, but it seems like in the last year, the litter across the county has just got worse and worse. And just want to try to make people aware and, see if maybe we can do something, maybe get some signs and work on that.
Good, thank you very much, thank you. Ed Alvarez, any report? Ed says if you want somebody to buy breakfast, he's your man, so you look him up. All right, let me look. Is there any other elected officials that I have missed that are here that we need to recognize?
I'm not an elected official. I forgot to mention the women's meeting, which is next Tuesday at 6. We hope you all join us.
Well, I'll leave it, ask one more time, is there any new business? So I want to say thank you very much for coming out tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Hey, David?
Yes.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, sir. Come on up.
I know this is not a church, and I know we don't usually do prayer requests here, but most of y'all know Larry Davis. He had a major heart attack last week. He's doing okay. He was up at his cabin when it happened. He was by himself, and the deputy picked him up. Anyway, they had to shock him twice to bring him back.
That's right.
His heart actually stopped.
That's right.
But he's doing better, but hey, he's big time in need of our prayers.
Absolutely. Keep Larry in your prayers. He is doing good, but once you've been resuscitated like that twice, it's tough. So definitely keep Larry, and thank you for bringing that up. Yes, ma'am.
Information. I brought a case of books from that are at the Saline County Library. If any of you want to see the pornography that's in them, pages are marked.
And where are those books at? Up
Right
here?
there at that milk crate under the table.
Okay, anybody wanting to look at the books that are in question at the library, they're up here and available for your review. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. All right, was there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please stand up. We are adjourned.